Yeah, we'll get stuck in. Thanks for joining everyone today. So if we kind of start today's hug. So today we will be looking at my top favorite 5 enterprise tools in HubSpot for education. So just as a bit of an introduction, so I'm Gemma. I'm a senior marketing and CRM consultant here at HubGem. So I work directly with our education clients. We're also joined by Amy. Amy, do you want to give a bit of an intro?
Yes, so I am Amy. I am the Senior Marketing Executive here. And just before we jump in, I'll just kind of give you a background on kind of HubGem and what we do here. So we've been empowering education institutions with HubSpot for nearly 5 years. It's actually our birthday next week, which is very exciting for us. So we were founded by our CEO, Gemma Price. She was born out of a passion for streamlining processes and kind of maximizing results in the education sector, having witnessed the kind of transformative power of HubSpot firsthand while she was working in marketing and missions for the school. So Gemma then set out to build a team, which is us, dedicated to helping others achieve the same. So for more information, please do pop onto our website at hubgem.co.uk. But so with all the introductions, out of the way, let's get started.
Okay, fab. Okay, great for that. Thanks for that introduction, Amy. Okay, so just diving straight in. So today we are going to be discussing my top 5 enterprise tools and how these can be used in the education sector. I'll also do a bit of a deep dive on some examples of these tools and how we can also apply them. And then if we have time at the end, we'll do a bit of a Q&A. Likewise, if you've got any questions throughout, please do pop them in the chat. Amy will be monitoring the chat throughout. So kind of diving straight in here. So these are some of my top 5 favorite enterprise features for education within HubSpot. Now, there are so many enterprise tools with the different hubs in HubSpot, so it was quite hard to choose some of my favorites, but these are them. So we've got custom objects, sensitive data, gated content and memberships, permissions features, and then the last one, customer journey reports, which I'm really excited to speak to you about. So going straight into the first one then. So custom objects. So I feel like custom objects are probably the most well-known or mostly used enterprise feature within HubSpot. So custom objects are used if you want to bring in a set of data into HubSpot that can't be categorized under the existing standard objects. So this set of data can't be categorized into contacts, companies, deals, and tickets. So by having access to custom objects, you can create a new data set to store and manage data. And then this data can be then associated to your other objects. So for example, if you want to manage scholarships separately, you can then create a custom object for this, manage your different scholarships on a separate pipeline, and then associate these scholarship records to your student deal records. So that's a nice example for independent schools. Or if you are in further education, so colleges, universities, and maybe training providers as well, you might want to manage things like job applicants, courses, programs, maybe HR in HubSpot. A custom object would be a really good use case here. So at HubGem, we actually use custom objects for managing HR and job applicants and some kind of training in-house resources, which allows us to associate employee contact records to various records in the HR or job applicant object. I will do a deeper dive into independent school examples and further education examples on the next slide. But for reference, some other education use cases could be for alumni memberships or programs, as I've touched on, scholarship applications, venue hire, job applications, HR, and partnerships. So this is where you could use your custom objects. Just whilst we're on here, a tip or something that I've really learned for deciding if you have a need for custom objects would be to think if you can use any existing object data within your current object. So if you've got a data set that you might want to use a custom object for, maybe think about, okay, can this actually go in an existing object, or is there a need for a completely new custom object? To also have a think about if there could be any overlapping data between your custom object and existing object data. So are there any properties that actually might be in your contact object, but you're also wanting to create a completely new custom object for? Or if there are any features unique to the existing objects that you want to use. So this might be one of the main ones, but for example, if you're wanting to send marketing emails to this custom object, you really need to think about this, because you can only send marketing emails to the contacts object and no other object. So there might be some specific tools that you're wanting to use with this custom object, but it turns out that you might not be able to. So these are some tips for actually deciding if you need a custom object. Are there any data points that you already have an existing object? Are there any key tools that you might want to be using with this custom object, but actually there's limitations there? So here are some examples of how custom objects can be used for independent schools, and then we'll go into a further education example. So this is my scholarship applications custom object example. So you can manage scholarship applications by using a separate custom object. You can then do many things with this custom object, like associating scholarship applications to a child's deal record. So when initially setting up this custom object, you can define the object's name, create properties specific to this object, manage pipelines for this custom object, and also, like I've mentioned, customize associations between this custom object and your other maybe standard objects that you have. You'll need to define the primary display properties on the records. So for scholarship application records, this could be scholarship name. Then you can define secondary properties for this new custom object, and this could be scholarship type or scholarship applied for. Once you've really defined what this custom object is called and you've set up your display properties, you can then create bespoke scholarship properties to display on the left-hand side of a custom object record. So, for example, some of these specific scholarship application properties could be scholarship application completed property, scholarship supporting evidence, subject of interest, scholarship applied for, scholarship type, and so on. So when you're creating your custom object, it's really key to define what properties you'd like here. And because custom objects are exactly the same and work in the same way as your standard objects in HubSpot, you can really kind of customize this object. So it's a really great tool to use if you do have a second or another set of data that doesn't fit in with your standard objects. You can then create a new one with this enterprise feature and really customize and tailor it to see exactly what you want to see on records, and also to store the data that you want. So by having a custom object in independent schools, using our scholarship applications example, this will really allow admissions teams to see if a child has applied for a scholarship, as the application record can be associated to the parent or the child's deal record. You can then send out tailored scholarship communications to the parent record, as this will be a contact, as long as they are associated correctly. You can then also report on this custom object to see how many scholarship applications you've had in the academic year, for example, and what specific scholarship types have been the most popular in that year. So like I said, you can use custom objects the same as the standard objects with other tools like reports. You can then lean into your marketing efforts for the next year to promote your scholarships or tailor scholarships to certain families using this data you've captured in this custom object. So that's an example that independent schools could use custom objects, so scholarship applications, just to name one of them. Another example for custom objects in education could be in a further education setting or within training providers, for example, and it could be using programs or courses. So just as I mentioned, when creating this separate custom object, the main properties could be course type, course name, program name, start and end dates, for example. You can then create and define a course or program pipeline in HubSpot to manage these courses from start to finish, and then each course can be associated to a student deal record or a contact record, depending on your setup of HubSpot. If it's further education, your student record might be a contact record and or a deal record. Therefore, you can still, email these contacts, for example. So students can then be sent these automated emails if they are student contact records regarding their course progress and any key information regarding their course, such as assessments. So again, it's really key to think about whether there is a need to create this new custom object with this data set, or if it can be managed in an existing object. So if you did want to use an example of having a custom object for programs or courses for further education training providers, your records could be the different programs or courses you offer. You can then associate this course or program record to a student, and whether that's a student contact record and or a student deal record, and then you can monitor their progress with this course or program. So for example, you may have one student who has applied for multiple courses at your college or your training provider. You can then track these courses and the progress on the students on that contact record. You can then also track the progress of their course or program on this new custom object record. This means that no data gets lost on the one student record about the progress of each course or course information, and it can all be stored within one place and one CRM platform. So I think it's clear to say that custom objects, there's kind of endless possibilities here, perhaps I could argue, but a really key thing is to know, okay, do we have a completely new data set that we need to create a custom object for, and what would this be? And to make sure there's no overlapping with existing objects you might have in your account. Once you create that custom object, kind of in the name, you can completely customize it. You can customize the setup of it and the records, just like you can with the other standard objects. You can then associate this new custom object to your contacts and your deals, for example. So yeah, really flexible and customizable with one of these probably most well-known tools in HubSpot for Enterprise. So moving on then to the second tool that I want to discuss, and that is sensitive data. So sensitive data is such a key enterprise feature we use in the education sector because it allows you to create sensitive data fields to store information about a student, such as medical information, ethnicity, religion, passport information, IDs, etc. So this kind of more sensitive class data. And you can't store this kind of sensitive data with a professional package, which is very key to note. So this is especially key for schools or colleges or universities, as you can store this key information in HubSpot. It then takes away the need for other systems to store this data, therefore having one centralized CRM system. So generally, the sensitive data is collected via registration forms, for example. Therefore, by setting properties to sensitive, allows you to store this information on child or student records. So some kind of common use cases we see here is passport information being collected at the point of registration or application, birth certificate documents, maybe some SEND needs information, ethnicity and religion data, and these all need to be sensitive fields. When you then go to the property settings, you can choose whether a property is classed as sensitive and tick this box as shown by the example on the screen. You can then set field level permissions, which I will discuss today as well, to limit what user in HubSpot can then actually access these sensitive data fields. It might be that you only allow the admissions team, for example, to access and edit this sensitive data, especially if you are perhaps maybe further education training providers and you have lots of different teams within HubSpot. It's not just admissions and marketing. You might have a finance team, an operations team, for example. You might want to limit who has access to these sensitive data fields. But these are really great because it means, like I said, HubSpot allows you to collect these more sensitive fields in HubSpot, store them on a contact or a child or student's record, and have this all in one place rather than flicking between different systems to store this elsewhere. Okay, so going on to the next tool, which is gated content and memberships. So this is, I really like this tool. This is something that we actually use as well, and I'll give that example in a second. But the gated content and memberships enterprise feature allows you to create an exclusive space that hosts HubSpot content for students, parents, and even staff to access. So these pages may be using HubSpot's landing pages or knowledge bases to gate specific information on your website for your audience. So, for example, you may want to use the landing page tool to create online content for enrolled students to access and view specific course information or term information, or maybe sitemaps before they have their first day at your school, university, college. Gated content can be used similar to student portals and parent portals that provide exclusive information. So you may want to create gated content for alumni memberships, allowing you to continue a relationship with students after they have left the education organisation and to continue supporting with them. You also may want to use landing pages and gated content for staff or internal team members to create a team intranet, for example, where they could access key documents, policies, or training resources. So we at HubGem have a team intranet built on HubSpot via landing pages and other pages, which allows the team to access these key resources, training portals, policies, social pages, and many more. So this is a really great way to host exclusive and specific content for your internal teams or for parents or students once they enroll to continue supporting them and providing them with key information and resources. So, for example, admissions can easily add welcome pack resources to this gated content for students, or marketing can use the gated content as an exclusive membership for parents or students to access to see the latest news about the school, university, college, or to see key information, hear about their course or any updates around this. So yeah, this is a really great tool that you have access to at Enterprise. And like I said, we use this at HubGem, and we have seen this being applied to many education organizations before. So just to show you what this could look like at a very top level. So these are some examples of some gated content. So when creating landing pages in HubSpot, you can actually set up control access. And this access can be with a password that you send out to parents or students, or there's another option to require an access group membership. So as you can see here, this is an example of the different kind of access control you can set up when creating landing pages. So as I mentioned, landing pages are a great way to host content here. And on these landing pages, you can use things like personalization tokens to custom the page is specific to the parent or the student using data that you've captured in the CRM. So for example, when someone logs into this gated piece of content, you could then have a welcome page using the parent or the student's name directly, really personalizing it to that user's experience. You can also use things like your brand colors across your pages to give it the same feel as your website and your different pages that your audience can see. You can also use links and resources which you may want to track. So for example, if a parent or a student logs into this kind of student portal or gated content and you have links and resources on here that you can track through HubSpot, this can also be seen on the contacts page, so you can actually see who's engaging with these gated content pages or portals. This is really great for marketing to then be able to steer their marketing efforts to see exactly what they're looking at, to see maybe the things within the portals or gated content pages that parents or students aren't more drawn to. You could then replace this with other engaging content that they are more drawn to, and it will provide them information for what they need. So this is a really great enterprise tool, and it can be used internally for teams or externally for parents and students. So yeah, definitely want to think about if you've got the enterprise features. Yeah, this is a great tool. Okay, so moving onwards then to permission features. Again, this is a really great tool within the enterprise features in HubSpot. It really allows you to lock down your account to specific team members, users, teams, and also field level permissions. So starting with field level permissions. So these allow you to limit access to certain properties by locking down this access and data within the properties to certain team members or users. So if there are certain properties you need to store on a student record, for example, but don't want every user within HubSpot to access and view this data, you might just want to allow admissions to access and view this. So for example, it might be bursary information or send data that you store within certain properties that you only want certain users or teams to see. You can actually lock down these permissions when creating the property itself to select users or teams to only be able to edit and view this data. This then allows you to keep all the data within HubSpot instead of using multiple systems, but also allows you to limit who can actually access this data. Again, you might have a really big HubSpot account with lots of teams and moving parts and users, but you just want to limit specific properties to specific teams. And I'll show you what that will look like on a record just in a second. So as an example, you might have a bursary team, for example, who just needs to see bursary data on a student's record. You can then create a bursary team in HubSpot and give this team access to these properties. You might also have a specific admissions team who just need to see send data or medical data. You can then create these teams, and then when you create these properties, you can then go in and then set these field level permissions. So a kind of tip here from me would be to review any properties in your HubSpot account and decide which fields may need to be locked down by permissions, and then which users can then access this data. It might be useful to break down this by teams or certain areas like scholarships, SEN or medical data, rather than an entire team or entire admissions team or marketing team seeing all of this data. So it might be that in your account you have an admissions team and a marketing team. You might have other teams like finance or operations. It might be useful to create sub-teams, for example, if you only want that sub-team to see specific properties and data. So going hand in hand with this, the next permissions feature is user permissions. So you may have certain teams who only need to access certain tools in HubSpot. Therefore, you can customize their permissions and only allow them to use tools applicable to their role. So you might have some marketing teams who only need to have access to object records to see contacts, marketing activity and website activity, and also the marketing tools, for example. Whereas admissions teams may not need to have access to be able to create marketing assets. Therefore, you can set these user permissions in the settings. Another example could be that you might have a finance team, and these might only need to access, the report and dashboard tool to see an overview of finance performance. You can then set these user permissions also in settings. So this is a really good one maybe to think about if you have the enterprise features or hubs within HubSpot. Do you maybe need to go in and actually lock down some users or teams permissions, and that might go hand in hand with locking down some field level permissions. So yeah, these are some really great tools. So generally, this just means you can lock down certain areas of HubSpot. This will mean that then your data is safe and only can be accessed by those who actually need to see this data. Also, by setting user permissions for tools means different teams can work alongside each other in one CRM instead of having disjointed systems for marketing admissions that don't align. Or, for example, if you store finance information in another system that could be brought into HubSpot using these kind of lockdown permissions, it just creates a nice place for everyone to work in one CRM, but also kind of limiting the data that they can see. So here is how this can be applied. So you can set permissions to users or teams in HubSpot. So this would be in settings, and it might be that you have an admissions team who can only access certain properties or tools like the object records, deal pipelines, templates, snippets, reports, the usual tools that admissions might use, compared to your marketing team, who might just need to access the marketing tools and object records. As you can see by this example, when you have set property permissions on a record, any user who doesn't have access to view or edit this data will be restricted. So they won't be able to see any data within these properties, and they won't be able to edit it. So this is really great to implement if you have additional teams using HubSpot, such as finance teams, operations teams, that maybe don't need to see the student, contact, or parent data, but do need to access using HubSpot and specific tools, for example. So yeah, this is a really good way to lock down your account for users and teams, but also for your field level permissions. Okay, so they are so far most of my favorite tools. We are just moving on to the last one now, which is customer journey reports. Now, I would say this is probably one of my favorite enterprise tools. I don't know if that's a big claim, but these are really great, and these are great for every user within HubSpot to see, both admissions and marketing teams. So customer journey reports is great for education organizations, as it allows you to track every interaction a contact has had with you throughout their customer journey, and that's obviously been recorded in HubSpot. So the customer journey report is built up of stages, and you can define the stages a contact or deal would have taken to progress to the next stage. You can pinpoint areas that attract more parents or students. Likewise, you can see any drop-off points in their journey. So as an example, you can see any activities such as engagement with marketing assets on your website that has attracted new parents or students and created them as a lead via a conversion action. So this might be that you have an open day ad, for example, that first attracted a student or a parent, or you might have a conversion form on your website. So this could be an inquiry form that someone's landed on a website and submitted. As this contact will then be created in HubSpot, this is their first kind of interaction point with you. So from this first action, you can then track the different activity they have taken throughout their customer journey by defining these in each of the steps. You can then also identify drop-off points. So, for example, do parents at a school or students at a college or university get to a certain part of your process and lose engagement? This will allow your marketing teams to think of a strategy to improve this and ensure that these drop-off points that you can identify via this report are still engaging for a parent or a student. It might be that a admissions and marketing team need to align in these areas to see how you can continue engaging with students and parents, both through your marketing assets, so how you're engaging with them this way, and also through direct communication from admissions. I do really believe that without having this information about the parent or students in the one CRM system would make this challenging to see and to be able to track their journeys. If you are using HubSpot for admissions, for example, but you actually are using different marketing platforms outside of HubSpot and not tracking this inside, it would make it hard to see maybe and pinpoint where these drop-off points are. But this is definitely one of the main tools that displays why HubSpot is great, because it's an all-in-one CRM system. You can then track a parent or student's journey from their first engagement and touch point all the way to enrollment and beyond. So this is definitely one of my favorite tools, and it just brings marketing and admission together. Okay, so just showing you some examples here of actually building out this customer journey report. So you can use contact activity that is tracked or captured in the CRM and map out these journeys. So as you can see here, you can actually define your different stages. You have up to 15 steps to define what that journey is. So for a school, for example, it might be a standard journey that all parents go through, such as first visiting your website, submitting an inquiry form, attending an open day, registering, etc. If it's further education, so college, university, training providers for different courses, you as well might have the same process where a student applies for a course and then you follow the same set journeys. So from this, it will be really key to look at your kind of current process and journey with both admissions and marketing to map out the key touch points for a parent or a student that goes through. So from their first touch point at conversion all the way to enrolling in the school or starting that university or college course. So by defining this customer journey, it will then really help when creating these journey reports to actually mapping out and plotting the different stages that a contact needs to meet. I do recognise, though, that there may be a few customer journeys a parent or a student could go on. So, for example, a student at college or university may first engage through an open event. So they might have seen an open day ad on your website and converted this way. Or some students might go straight onto your website and apply for a course straight away. So this is why it's really key to map out these different customer journeys and to know what activity parents and students are taking to effectively create a journey report and to continue attracting and engaging with parents and students the right way. So once you have built your report, you can then identify any drop-off points. So from this example here, we can see those different stages mapped out from stage 1 to, if you've got 15 steps, all the way, if not until your ending step. It might be that your school, college or university don't generate many registrations to events one year, for example. Therefore, marketing can come into this customer journey report builder, build out their report, and they can actually see where these drop-off points are. They can then create a marketing strategy to engage with more parents or students using your HubSpot tools, so landing pages, ads, website content, or automated emails to promote these events, for example, and then start to convert these contacts or students again. So these reports are really valuable, uses all the data from within your CRM system, and allows you to see these kind of drop-off points and students and parents that continue onto the journey and where they might not. You can also look at this through a static date range or a rolling date range as well. So you might want to compare year on year, for example, if you've got the same kind of process. And I think it's really nice as well because every activity or interaction is recorded within that contact record in HubSpot. Therefore, you can really look at different journeys by mapping this out. So it might be actually that you want to see the conversion or any drop-off points from the first part of your journey. You can just map out these first 3 or 4 stages. Or it might be that you want to map out this entire journey from these different stages from, first website page visited all the way to them submitting an application or registration form, all the way through to enrollment. It really allows you to kind of pinpoint where you might think that maybe your marketing efforts are falling off or communications directly with these students or parents are falling off, and then create a bit of an action plan to kind of turn this around. So really, this is really one of my favorite enterprise tools. And we use these at HubGem as well. They're really effective. Okay, so they are my top 5 favorite enterprise tools. There are so many more enterprise tools that you might currently be using, you might be interested in. So do feel free to kind of explore these within the HubSpot website pages. Likewise, if you want to explore any of these, if you're our current clients, feel free to let your consultant know. Or if you have any questions about these, please do let us know. Okay, so that kind of leads on to my next point. Do we have any questions about any of the tools I've discussed or in general?
We have none in the chat so far, but I will open the Q&A as well, just in case. So yeah, we'll give that a wee couple minutes.
No worries. Yeah, I could talk about the enterprise tools all day. There are so many great ones there, so please do feel free to explore them. If you've got the Enterprise Hub, there's lots of different things that can help you there.
Yeah, but definitely thank you so much for that. Oh, Ollie's got one. Do you have to upgrade all hubs to get these features?
No, so you can upgrade. So if you want to go from Marketing Hub Pro to Enterprise, you can upgrade your certain hubs. This will then give you access to certain features within that hub itself. So for example, Sales Hub Enterprise might have different enterprise features compared to Marketing Hub Enterprise. And we can scope these out with you, what the different hubs have for the enterprise features. But no, you can upgrade just one if you'd like. Great question.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ollie. Do you have to upgrade all hubs to get these features? We've just went over that one, haven't we? No, sorry. Apologies, I've just read the same one. What's the most cost-effective one to upgrade if I just want sensitive data?
Oh, good question. So it would first of all depend on what hubs you have at the moment. So for example, if you have a combination of starter and pro, we can probably look at the most effective one to upgrade to enterprise. But if you are all on a pro package, it might most likely be the Content Hub Enterprise that you upgrade to, or the Sales Hub Enterprise that you upgrade to for the most cost effective. That's just based on that you've got an entire professional kind of account. But again, we would scope these with you.
Amazing. If no, oh, we've got another one in the chat. No, that's you just saying thank you. There we go. Thanks, Ollie. No, thank you. Yeah, so if you've got no more, then I will finish the kind of Q&A, but please do get in touch with us in future if you do have any more questions. If we just move on quickly with the slides, Gemma, if that's all right. We have put together a few resources for you, which you will receive with your kind of post emails with this as well. So these all relate to what we've covered today. The HubGem resource that we put on is the Education Buyer's Journey worksheets, which will be good to kind of going over the kind of top enterprise tools that Gemma's just went over. And we've also just kind of popped in a wee HubSpot resource as well. In terms of watching this back, if you've joined late or if you've missed anything, then this will be getting uploaded to YouTube. So please pop onto our channel, give it a wee subscribe. You'll find this video there and you will find so much more. So yeah, maybe we haven't answered one of your questions today. Maybe you'll find that in one of our other kind of past sessions. There is like an abundance of information there from us in our HubSpot user group sessions. So yeah, thank you all so much for joining us today. It's been absolutely wonderful. I think I've already touched on these steps. Yeah, we've got more upcoming hugs. So the next one we've got is how to utilize Service Hub for your college. So if that's kind of your expertise there, then please do join in. We tend to have these sessions once a month. We sometimes throw in a wee mini hug there as well, which is always great. So yeah, please join on. We've got a HubSpot user group as well on LinkedIn, which you can also add questions on and join in there. So yeah, there's an abundance of information from all of us. But yeah, please don't ever hesitate to get in touch with any of us at the HubGem team. We're always more than happy to help. But thank you so much for joining.